This little kid from Austin, Texas, just played some of the most devastating city rhythm and blues I've heard in years.
And I remember thinking, I have to find out who that guitar player is. He seemed to be an open channel.
When David Bowie and Eric Clapton are in awe, hey, you know it is something special. Had he not boarded his helicopter on that ill-fated August evening, the legendary Stevie Ray Vaughan would have recently celebrated his 71st birthday. Well, instead, his life was cut short at just 35 years old. At the height of his career, the likes of which may never be seen again. Let's take a look now inside the life of Stevie Ray, whose otherworldly abilities on the guitar continued to influence generations of musicians.
Well, it's flooding down in Texas. All of the telephone lines are gone.
It's easy to know what is the blues, and then there's the stuff on the margins where you can argue if it is or isn't. You know, there's some people that say Stevie Ray Vaughan played too loud and too fast and wasn't the blues. You can make that point, but I think that there's that elemental feeling that they're all going through. Stevie is a very important artist to modern American music. His early tragic demise left, I think, a big crater in the middle of American music that's really never been filled, in some ways can't be filled.
Guitar great Stevie Ray Vaughan was killed early Monday morning in a helicopter crash at Alpine Valley in East Troy, Wisconsin.
Sunday night, Vaughan appeared with Eric Clapton at an open-air concert in southeast Wisconsin. Following the concert, the musicians and their entourage boarded 4 helicopters for Chicago.
In heavy fog, the Bell Jet Ranger had flown into the side of a 1,000-foot man-made ski hill near East Troy. He was set to begin a European tour next week.
Stevie's concept of love was just not about individual type love. It was about world love. It was about loving all people on this planet.
Amazing grace.
The unanswerable question of what other music would he have made, what other people would that music have influenced, what other guitarists would he have discovered and brought along and been a mentor to. I mean, there's no way to know, but I know that stuff would have happened. And to me, Stevie was always still a little bit of a mystery. And I felt that for a variety of reasons, there really hadn't been an adequate chronicling of him. When we interview over 100 people, thousands of hours of interviews.
The most important thing to me with this book was to communicate to the reader who Stevie was as a person, you know, which is a lot harder to do than just like a laundry list of someone's career achievements and gold records.
One of the first really big stages that Stevie Ray played was at the Juneteenth Festival in Houston. It was Big Mama Thornton, Albert Collins. There was a bunch of big names, and it was a really, really big deal for them, both because it was a large crowd and because of the other artists involved. And for him to be put on a field with them before he really was a very widely known person was a very significant thing for him. Tommy Shannon, who became the bass player for Double Trouble and really Stevie's best friend and right-hand man. The first time Tommy got up and played with Double Trouble before he was in the band was at Rockefeller's in Houston.
And he said as soon as he heard the first few notes of Stevie playing, I belong in this band. I was going to go for that gig with everything I had. And it was just undeniable that some sort of chemistry happened.
Something changed when Tommy...
We had a band that's timeless in a way. You know, a lot of bands come up and make a hit record and then just go away. And we had a band that just keeps going. Every generation likes it.
And then Stevie would play a place called Fitzgerald's in Houston. If you go on YouTube, like really wonderful shows that you can listen to.
So Stevie Ray Vaughan had an increasingly bad drug and alcohol problem. Going back to when he was a kid, he started drinking. And there were periods where his whole life was a mess. Stevie would be up for 3 days on a speed jag and fall asleep, and they'd sort of slap him around and get him up and prop him up on stage.
Once he was upright and with a guitar, he just played as good as he ever played.
In 1986, there was a period where he did start to suffer, and he finally, when he was really, his health was getting bad and he played some bad shows. Well, he worked out a slide guitar rendition of Star Spangled Banner. Then he did one of these things where he stayed up for a few days, and apparently when he got to the Astrodome, he couldn't remember what the hell he had done. And so he sort of improvised the national anthem.
It was a rare misstep.
And it was a sign like, okay, he's headed towards trouble because he'd been able to, play great no matter what. So it was a little bit of a fiasco. An important Houston memory, but not a particularly good one. One of the very few public bad performances by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
In 1989, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Double Trouble, and the Fabulous Thunderbirds both opened for The Who. They did a parking lot show that afternoon, easily 110 degrees out in the parking lot that day. He didn't hold back at all. Sheets of sweat were coming off of Stevie for this parking lot show. Stevie played with as much intensity and fierce power I'd ever seen him play with.
He seamlessly melded the supernatural vibe of Jimi Hendrix, the intensity of Albert King, the best of British, Texas, and Chicago blues, and the class and sharpshooter precision of his older brother, Jimmy.
Well, I did a phoner for Family Style with Jimmy. I was asking him to describe how he felt when he listened to his brother play. He said, well, when I hear Stevie playing his best, it's like a religious experience almost. Because I know what that thing is, that feeling to be tapped into some other higher plane. And you feel it, and everybody feels it. It's undeniable.
He's not physically here, but he's with me in all my life, everywhere I go, all the time. It used to feel real painful, but it's bittersweet, but it feels really good today.
There's no book that has done justice to Stevie as an artist, as a person, and he deserves the best book that we could possibly write, and that's what we set out to do.
Stevie was the ultimate guitar hero, and heroes live forever.
Texas Flood, the inside story of Stevie Ray Vaughan by Alan Paul and Andy Aledort. It's available right now everywhere books are sold. To learn more, visit GreatDayHouston.com for the links.